Hello and welcome to another video. Sorry for being a little bit quiet on here recently. I have just been backed up with final bits and bobs preparing for November, as well as moving house and the day job. But house is coming along nicely. This room has actually become a bit devoted to just accumulating all my stuff ready for Project Vertical on the 1st of November, which, for those that might not be aware, if you haven't seen my last video, I'd urge you to go and watch it. It's sick. But quick summary. World's first vertical marathon, 26.2 miles of elevation up the way, 336 miles on foot, Ben Nevis times 32, 11 days. That's kind of the whistle stop tour. If you want more detail, go to the previous video and check the description below, as well as my Instagram, as that will give you a full update and the ins and outs of what's going on. Anyway, that is all for November. This is my third year of campaigning for them, and I'm hoping to reach the £100,000 raised mark this year. So if you would be so kind as to donate, please head down to the description box below. I can tell you firsthand how much of an impact your donations do have. I've witnessed some of the community projects that Movember invests in to make a change to men's lives, and a few of them have brought me to tears. So I really do recommend that you get involved. If you want to be more directly involved, please do just comment down below as well, and I can send you some details. Anyway, what I'm going to do today is run you through all the things I use in the mountains, day packs, sort of multi-day packs, etc., winter, summer, a bit of an overview. Not going to be that structured, I warn you now, as it's kind of just ad hoc with what's lying around, but I will give you an update. As you may have seen, Gymshark drop number 2 of the past couple of weeks, which is very exciting, and I will give you more insight on exactly why that is in a few weeks' time. But for now, I just thought I'd show you the drop they very, very kindly sent me. Just a whole load of long sleeve t-shirts for time in the hills, short sleeve t-shirts, tanks, etc. for training in the gym in the run up to Project Vertical and beyond. Got some of the new camo style tanks, which is very exciting for my bro sessions. Some hoodies, some joggers. Now that we're getting pretty cold, it's good to be so kitted out, and this is all lovely, lovely kit, as you will know. So I'll give you a bit more of an update on that in the weeks to come, as I've said, but for the time being, I'm going to show you this big pile over here. This is actually just storage of things that are arriving, like torches, Movember stuff, etc., etc. So no need to run you through that. Nutrition over there. But without any further ado, I'll give you an overview of how I approach a day, a couple days, or even longer in the hills. Alright, so first things first, whether it is winter or summer, I will have a day pack or a mega or multi-day pack. For both of those, I use the Osprey Archeon. This is the 25 and this is the 45, and that just refers to litres. So, I mean, in terms of storage, there's loads in this one. Really, really easy to access food at the top. Both have side pockets, and both have waterproof coverings in the bottom to pull over the bag if it gets too wet. They are water resistant, but water resistant is useless as soon as it starts actually pissing down. I've recently, shamefully, become a pole user, so I'm old before my time and might as well be rambling through the countryside, but these are very, very useful over like long distances in terms of efficiency up the hill. I hate them downhill, so no real gains there, but I'm now using these for every sort of day over 6 hours or so. So that's what I have there. I mean, pockets galore, plenty of storage. This is what I use for anything up to about 8 hours. And then if I'm adding any additional weight, I've got a tent, I've got loads of layers. This is the one that I'll use there. For my training in the Pentlands, this is the Osprey Giro 6, which is a 6 litre basically trail sack. It's got two 500 milliliter soft pouches on the front, which you can sort of sip as you go, like this. Bit dehydrated, so that's well timed. Not huge amounts of storage in there, so you can just about keep a lightweight waterproof in if needs be. And what I will do with all of these packs as well is I will stick either 1.5 to 3 litre. I've got sort of a full range of them, of these, which I was leaking. Brilliant. Anyway, these will go in the back and they'll just come over my shoulder so that I've got access to these all the time, which is very, very useful, as taking a water bottle in and out of a backpack is very, very infuriating. So that is backpacks and the hydration packs that I use in them. These are all from Osprey, who are very, very kindly supporting Project Vertical and have been absolute legends and sorted me out with everything that I might need. In terms of what I keep in my bag all the time, I'll always have an emergency survival bag, just because you never really know when things are going to go south, especially in Scotland. These are not expensive, definitely worth having. It's probably about 500 grams to a kilo of extra weight, but you'd much rather be caught with one of these than you would without. I'll always carry a buff. This is actually brand new. Thank you to Olight. I'm about to fall over. We're okay. So this is just basically a sophisticated neckerchief, really, to sort of keep me here, and then if I need it over my ears to keep me warmer with the cap, or to put over my face if my cheeks are getting a bit cold, I'll use one of these. I'll also always take a dry bag, which normally has my phone, my GoPro, car keys, etc. Drone, I've said drone I think, haven't I? But basically electronics and car keys go in here, and that goes inside the bag, and these are completely water resistant, well, waterproof in fact. Now that we're in winter, I will constantly carry a head torch with me. These are amazing little bits of kit from Olight that I've just been sent. They've actually just sent me a whole load of stuff over here for the project, which is cool. This is the Perun, I don't know how to say it, but it's a very good bit of kit, and it's basically magnetically attached on the front, so that clips on there, but you can also use it as a hand torch or a pocket torch if needs be. That goes up to 2000 lumens, I think, which is a decent amount of light. And on the lowest setting, that's got 47.5 hours of battery life. So for all the training that we've been doing, that has been perfect. Then we have what is pretty much as close to a lightsaber as you're going to be able to find. This is a pocket torch with loads and loads of power. This can go up to 1200 meters, which is mental. Like, all the years of practicing with a laser pointer in biology class in primary school have paid off with this thing, because my God, can it go a long way. So I'll carry one of those with me now, just for sighting in front of anything on the hills. And that is very useful if we come into sort of any ropier sections where navigation isn't as easy to follow. What I don't have here, but what I do tend to use, is I've got a Garmin GPS monitor. Johnny's actually got it at his house at the moment. He's down in the Lake District this weekend. So it's basically just a monitor that you can upload GPX files to, and you follow waypoints so that you can stay onto a route. We'll also always carry a map and a compass and a whistle, just for safety purposes, but they are all in my car, which I can't really be bothered getting. And you know what a map looks like. Anyway, in terms of footwear, what I've been using recently is, if it's muddy, if it's wet, if it's sort of a bit more slippy terrain in general, I will use soft ground soles that I've got lugs underneath. These are just the Vivo Barefoot soft grounds. These have had a lot of use. The lugs are starting to wear out a little bit, so I'll need some new ones. But Nevis has mostly been done in these, which are the Magna Trails, just with the standard firm ground sole. I do most of my hills in trail shoes, generally. Most people obviously prefer boots, but I've never actually loved the weight and the ankle support of boots. I much prefer having full stability. I feel like I'm much more stable through my own 2 feet than I am relying on boots, but that is down to personal preference. On that note, actually, what I didn't mention was that those shoes are not going to be massively useful for me beyond much longer now with the winter conditions, but Vivo are sending me a bespoke pair of winter shoes which will be much safer in the snow, etc, etc. So I don't want any of you going up the hills in shoes with no ice grip or anything like that, because we will have crampons and we will have ice axes before anyone comes at me on that. We just don't have them in the house right now. Obviously some people want a heavy Gore-Tex really supported pair of boots, and that's absolutely fine, but for me these are completely unsupported and just allow me to sort of spread into the floor and control things myself. That is kind of the basics there. What I'll do is run you through the clothes that I tend to wear, so I'll come onto those in a second. But generally I will, now that we're in winter, I'll have a lightweight pair of gloves as well as a heavyweight pair of gloves. So these are like Black Diamond, pretty top of the range, mega waterproof, warm gloves, which is going to be what I'm going to be using on Nevis. And these are just sealskins, again waterproof, but nowhere near as warm as those. They're double layered, whereas these are single layered, which means that this is what I'd use for most days out, but these are much more reliable over a long distance. And the exciting bit, in terms of jackets, actually what I'm going to do for the sake of structure is go head to toe. So I'll always either be in a beanie, the B on the beanie confused me there, a beanie, or B, a hat, and that means that if I do get cold, one of these will keep me a bit warmer. But I always find that personally I get so hot on my head first of all that taking a hat on and off is a good way for me to regulate temperature. Again, down to personal preference, but I'll always make sure I've got one of these. This is covered in dog hair, lovely. But woolly hat with head torch works well, hat with head torch works well, but I tend not really to be bare on my head just because the elements can sort of do a lot of damage to you that way. Then covered neckerchief, covered head torch. So on the way down I actually have, just behind you here, just because I've washed them recently. So, in terms of, at the moment, this is all winter kit, obviously. Summer, I'll be in t-shirt, base layer, pair of shorts, pair of undershorts. I'm always in undershorts, but I'll get onto that. So, head to toe during the winter, I will be in a base layer, an underlayer there, which will just act as a bit of a sweat wicking layer for the bottom of me, but equally the problem with that is if I sweat too much too soon, that'll get soaked and then it's much harder for me to regulate temperature. So something to be aware of is if you are wearing sweat wicking technology stuff, you do need to be conscious that you don't actually just completely soak it through, because that'll make it more difficult if the temperature does drop. I'll then have, same again on my lower body, but because I have larger than usual legs and an average sized upper body, which is the anti-bro, I will have a pair of undershorts under these as well, which are just here. So I go through these like there's no tomorrow, whether I'm just training in the gym, whether I'm walking around in a pair of jeans, I'll always have a pair of them on. But they are to stop me chafing whilst I'm in big days in the hills. The leggings are for warmth and the base layer is for warmth as well. So if I'm in the summer, I'll just be in undershorts, no leggings. If I'm in the winter, I'll be in both. Then I am in, as I said, head to toe, but this is the bottom layer. I will be in Through Dark Charge version 2 trousers. These are amazing, amazing bits of kit. Loads of pockets so I can keep my GoPro, food, phone, keys, wallet, everything in here. If it is pissing down with rain, then I'll probably put them back in my bag, because these are not waterproof, these are quick drying. And that is largely down to the fact that I actually don't love waterproof trousers because of the heat regulation. It means that you get so hot because all the heat's completely contained within them. Yes, they have a place and they will be something that we'll have up our sleeve for Project Vertical, but we will generally be in Gore-Tex leggings, which I don't actually have with me at the moment, and then a pair of quick drying trousers because they're so much lighter and so much more freedom of movement in them. But those are, yeah, sort of Kevlar on the knees, which means if you trip over, which I have done, hence the poles, then they're very useful, really well fitted, really light, really quick drying, so they are great bits of kit. And then what I found recently is actually Stance's Hike Light socks. That one's inside out, they're both inside out actually, but these are kind of do what they say on the cover, as they have a mountain on them. But they are the Stance Hike Light socks, which have been working really well for me. Some people are obviously more susceptible to blisters, so might need toe socks, but I have never really had much of an issue, so they work for me, and they're just thick enough and just warm enough to keep me absolutely fine in all the Vivos that I wear. So, head to toe, what I will always carry with me, whether it's summer, winter or otherwise, is my Through Dark Skirmish, which is just a thin, lightweight, easily packed up, really sort of condensable, waterproof. So I mean, you can get it much smaller than that, but it's really, really condensed. This is an amazing bit of kit. I've stood under waterfalls in this and it's done absolutely everything it needs to do. I've stayed completely dry. So summer or winter, this is the waterproof that I'll take with me. Pockets on the front, which I don't really use, to be honest, because I'll just use my lower body for that. But vents on the back, which means heat regulation solid as well. But if you are hot already and put this on, as you will with most waterproofs, it's quite hard to regulate temperature if you're wet underneath the waterproof. So something to bear in mind. But I would recommend, if you are going to the hills, always make sure you've got one of these up your sleeve, just because things can take a turn pretty quickly. So I'll always have that with me. What I will wear in the winter as a sort of main layer is, this is the Through Dark Recoil, which is kind of just like a lightweight puffer jacket, but Through Dark are basically Special Forces ex-Special Forces operatives, so they've kind of thought of everything from an experience point of view, and this is just thin sweat wicking material on the back, which means that your pack does most of the warmth for you, because I've worn jackets in the past and I've ended up getting so sweaty down my back that it's stopped me from regulating temperature very well. So if I know it's going to be dry with the forecast, if it's guaranteed to be dry, this is what I'll wear. And I'll sometimes pack it in the summer as well if things are going to be colder up top, but generally speaking, I actually wear this day to day a lot of the time as well. So, in terms of, we'll go on to that, same story really. If I know it's going to be dry and I know I'm not going to be too hot, then I will wear this, which is the Hybrid Jacket by Through Dark. It's basically a water resistant, lightweight, basically a lightweight jacket that kind of functions as a layer of warmth on top of everything else that I've already mentioned. Nothing massively technological about this one, but it does the job, whether it's a sort of 60 to 90 minute threshold run in the Pentlands, which I've been doing a lot of, or a long day in the hills. So next step up from that is this, which is the Through Dark Echelon jacket. this is basically just a lightweight, quick drying, sort of heavy duty overlayer, which does the job. Not waterproof, but really good for something to just sort of zip up and down and allow a bit of warmth to escape from. Then this is Polartec kit, which is incredibly warm. Once you get hot in this, it's not going anywhere. This is Through Dark's Gorilla Fleece. I don't know whether it's named like that because you look like a gorilla when you're in it, but it is very, very warm as an underlayer. The hood is pretty dominant, got a bit of a visor effect as well, but this stuff's mega soft, and once you've got this and a layer on top, there's no heat escaping. There just isn't. This is also reversible, so I kind of wear that down the pub, which is probably overspec, but oh well. Form over function, I guess. Finally, this is my favourite jacket on the planet. This is the Through Dark Scout Smock, which is as waterproof as the Skirmish, but it has that Polartec. It has that Polartec lining in it as well, so this is a very heavy duty, very warm, waterproof. It's got like a kangaroo pouch in the front with zips here, which are good for your hands if it's sort of not quite cold enough for gloves. You can stick stuff in here, which I'll tend to do with my GoPro and my camera if I'm on the move. You can zip this up. It's very useful at the moment as a face mask if you forget one as well, because it comes up to about here, so happy days. Nice thinking, Through Dark. And then the hood, fully waterproof with a visor as well, so if you ever do get caught without a hat or something, it works well in that regard. Again, stood under a waterfall in this and have no issues, but what that does do is show how many variabilities there are in the hills and how much I have to sort of prepare for in training and in general, and why they shouldn't be taken for granted. So in terms of preparation, I'll always make sure that I check the forecast well ahead of time and that I pack accordingly. In terms of Project Vertical stuff, I will mostly be in the Scout. Everything I've said in terms of base layers and then a few layers in between. The Scout would be the jacket and I'm in the most. Might default to the Gorilla Fleece, and the Skirmish is a bit of an unzippable option in case I want to regulate heat out that way. But the big issue is going to be Gore-Tex is great for about 8 hours, but if it's pissing down for 8 hours or more, then there's no real way around it and you will sort of be breached. So we need a few options to fall back on so that we're covered for if that happens, which just means we can have 3 or 4 pairs of these, loads of pairs of these, and a few alternatives in that sense. But what I'm going to do is cover all the specific kit for Project Vertical itself in another video shortly. That is just an overview of all the things that I will generally take in the hills. What I have missed is the things that I'll generally pack. So every single time I'll have X amount of water, and what I'll tend to do is have water in this, and then in the soft flasks that I showed you earlier, which are these things, in these or just a water bottle I carry with me, I'll have 500 millilitres of water and this, which is about 180 calories worth, decent hit of carbs and electrolytes for me to sip as I go. I'll also always make sure that I carry at least a few of Awesome's protein bars because they taste great and they're just a decent hit of protein up in the hills. If you don't know about Cliff Blocks, you're missing out. They're basically supercharged sweets, they're delicious, and they are, a whole pack of that's about 200 calories of just pure carbohydrate, which is fantastic in terms of keeping glycogen up. Then I tend not to use these in the hills because I've got no issue eating. These are more of a triathlon sort of long distance running thing, but I always keep a few in reserve in case I do need them. And then I'll always carry several bags of contact coffee, battle bags, and I'll have a flask. Johnny will tend to carry the flask, to be fair, because his is better than mine, with boiling water in case we do need to heat up our hands or anything. And just because this is probably the strongest coffee in the entire world, and the guys at Contact Coffee refuse to tell me what the milligrams of caffeine is, so I'm almost thinking that this is Jack 3D 2.0. We'll see. And of course my inhaler, because I'm a dog, I need this all the time. But what I haven't got here is sort of the meals, the sandwiches, the overnight oats that I'll take as well, but I kind of just YOLO that depending on how I'm feeling the night before and what we've got in the house. So in terms of go-to stuff that I keep ready to go at all times, this is it. Other than that, I'll just carry things that I enjoy, things that I can consume easily, like oven pizzas. I'll tend to cook them the night before, wrap them in tin foil and take them with me. But other than that, that is pretty much how I approach the hills. And there's not too much more to it. It'll just be depending on weather, depending on planning, depending on the training session I've got ahead, and how much we split up between Johnny and I in training for the past couple of months. But all in all, that is an overview of everything that I've been using consistently in the hills for the past few months, I say again, I'll do a more detailed video on exactly how things look for Project Vertical itself, as we have a whole load of UK Special Forces kit being sent up, which is very exciting. Ration packs, tents, jerry cans for RV points, etc. But I'll go into more detail on that soon. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure that you've given it a like and have subscribed down below. If you have any questions on not from Yorkshire. If you have any questions on why I use certain things, how you should pack for a day in the hills yourself, what skills you might need when it's winter, etc, etc, because things are a bit more complicated, then please do let me know. Hope you've enjoyed this video. See you next time.